back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 3. So we got the first 2 episodes last week back to back. So those 2 episodes were great. They did an excellent job to set up this series. But now we're to episode 3. We're at the halfway mark. So in episode 3, quite a bit happened. And I have to say, I am wearing my Vader jersey because, spoiler, if you haven't seen it, Vader killed it. Like, he was a beast in this episode. And it was very reminiscent of how we saw him on Rogue One, where that scene towards the end of the movie, he's just cutting through and slicing through the Rebel Alliance. And this was very reminiscent of that. It wasn't like he was featured prominently in the episode, but his presence was felt even from the very beginning, start of the episode when he was talking to Reva and she's pretty much telling him, oh, you know, Obi-Wan's gonna pay for the Grand and Vader didn't even want to hear all that. He's like, listen, I know who you are, I know what you want, just get me Obi-Wan. We see how Obi-Wan and little baby Leia, right, adorable as she is, they're trying to make their way and find safety back to Alderaan. So Obi-Wan he's older, he's very reluctant and very skeptical in believing that there are actually people out there that are willing to help. But Leia is very optimistic. She's young, she's innocent, and she's kind of letting him know, hey, there might be people that do want to help. So you see this great dynamic between Obi-Wan and little Leia, and I can't help but think of, if you're a gamer, The Last of Us, we had that very similar dynamic between Joel and Ellie, and it was just so awesome to be able to see that. And just like in The Last of Us, I'm curious to see if that dynamic changes, where right now Obi-Wan is the skeptical one, Leia is that little bit of hope that he needs. But I wonder if their roles will kind of change further down the episode, right? Where Leia kind of starts to see the darkness of the galaxy, and she becomes a little bit more skeptical. And it takes Obi-Wan, you know, to be able to change and say, hey, you know what? You taught me this. Don't give up hope, right? So that's really awesome because it just kind of leads to episode 4, A New Hope, and I really love what they're doing with this story. There were a couple of things mentioned in this episode as Obi-Wan and Leia are traveling in that wagon, the space wagon, right? He mentions a couple of things and he talks about Padme, and Leia figures it out. She's like, you were talking about my mom, you know my mom. And it was such a sweet moment and almost melancholic moment when she asked him, you know, are you my dad? And he said, I really wish I could tell you that, but I'm not. And you know, I just can't help but feel, and this is one of those things that when the prequels were being made, there was this whole theory that the reason why Anakin turned to the dark side was because there was a love interest between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Padme, and we never really saw that in the movies, and they never really kind of hinted at that, except for, you know, Anakin just being paranoid and being a little jealous when he saw Obi-Wan come out of the ship and he's facing Padme. But other than that, there was no hint at a love triangle. But I'm wondering if there was some type of deeper emotional connection between Obi-Wan and Padme, and through this series we'll have that revealed. So don't know, we'll find out as the story progresses. Another part that stood out, and I'll talk about my theories a little bit later in this video, was that Obi-Wan mentioned how he had glimpses of his prior life. He remembered his mother's shawl, he remembers his father's hand, and he also remembered a baby. And he just says, hey, I think I have a brother, right? And that's not just a throwaway line, there's more to that. And I'll kind of give a little bit of what my theories on that is. But I do want to point out the very close similarity to what Leia told Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, where she told Luke, I barely remember my mother, I remember glimpses of her. And Obviously, as you see this show and as you saw the prequels, Leia never got to meet her mother. So I'm wondering if within this show, Obi-Wan kind of taps into her mind or shares his memory of Padme, or Leia has shown throughout this episode that she has Force sensibilities and she's able to sense emotions of people. So I'm wondering if she's able to pick up a memory from Obi-Wan and see a glimpse of Padme. I would really like to see if that plays out that way. When Obi-Wan was trying to escape, he mentions Quinlan. There was some writing on the wall. There were Jedis that were trying to escape and get to safety. That was pretty cool. That was really awesome. So it does confirm that other Jedis have survived. But Quinlan Vos, and this is not a character that many people know, but if you follow the Clone Wars, if you read the comics, if you read the novels, Quinlan Vos is a really cool character. He's pretty much a Black Ops operative for the Jedi. The Jedi usually send him to do these spy missions. His very first appearance was in The Phantom Menace, where you kind of see him in the background sitting at a table when they were in Tatooine with little Anakin and they were trying to fix their ship. In the Clone Wars, he was in an episode, and the great thing about Quinlan Vos is that he has the ability to use the Force to touch an object and see the memory attached to that object. Similar to Rey in The Force Awakens when she touched Luke's lightsaber and she was able to see flashes of the past. Quinlan Vos has that same ability. It would be really cool to see him make an appearance in this show. He was supposed to pop out in Revenge of the Sith, but his scene got cut out. He was in the novel Dark Disciple. This was supposed to be an episode of Clone Wars. After Disney bought out Star Wars, they kind of put the axe on all the Clone Wars episodes, so they put a halt on that. So instead of just scrapping this episode, they turned it into a novel. It's with Asajj Ventress. I highly recommend it. It's really cool. You see Quinlan Vos kind of hitting the dark side and Asajj Ventress actually helping him through that. So really interesting read. Check it out. It's an awesome book. But let's get to the meat of this episode. Vader, towards the end when they get to the planet and Obi-Wan's trying to escape, there was just this sense of terror on Obi-Wan. And Ewan McGregor killed it. Like, homeboy looked scared. Like, he looked like he was terrified, and he sensed Vader as soon as he landed or he hit the town. And he's just kind of watching Vader. He tells, you know, Leia and that other rebel person that was trying to help him out, like, go, get her to safety, get her to Alderaan. But as he's looking up and peeking out the window, he sees Vader and he's just terrified, right? And he makes, what I really love is Ewan McGregor's acting. He's really subtle, but there was this one moment where you see his sort of like eyebrows twitch, and Vader picks up on that. And Vader knows Obi-Wan is there. And at that moment, that was it. Vader cut loose. He's walking down the town. He's pulling daddies out of their houses, force choking them. That poor man's son came to help him out, and he just force pushed him, snapped his neck without even a thought. He didn't even flinch. As he continues walking down the town, he's just dragging that lady. No remorse whatsoever in Vader. And you see Obi-Wan, he's kind of like sneaking around trying to attract Vader. He wants to distract him and take him to a different area so that Leia can get away. The problem with that is that Vader senses him, and there was this one moment where you see Vader turn, and he sort of turns to the camera, and it was straight out of a horror movie. You know, when you see Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers and they turn their heads, and it was just a startling moment, and thankfully Obi-Wan got out of there, right? But little scenes like that just make it. This is how we want to see Vader. We heard James Earl Jones' voice, which was awesome. It is Hayden Christensen in the Vader outfit, which is a pretty cool touch. You know, as Obi-Wan tries to make his escape, and you know he's through that mining colony, and he's using his lightsaber as a flashlight, you know, instead of a weapon. Vader approaches him, and they have this bit of a battle, but you could barely call it that. I mean, Vader was dominating, and you can see his brutal, raw strength. I mean, he was just using one hand. He wasn't even trying to be fancy with his moves or anything. He was just like coming down on Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was trying to deflect. He's using two hands to, you know, be on the defensive. You can totally tell that Obi-Wan is disconnected from the Force. He hasn't turned on his lightsaber for about 10 years. He didn't turn it on up until this third episode, and he's just not his old self. And Vader tells him that, like, hey man, the years haven't been kind to you. They made you old. And I love that scene when Obi-Wan asks Vader, what are you? What have you become? And Vader tells him, like, I am what you made me. Like, this is a consequence of what you did. And you should have killed me. You should have taken me out when you had the chance, Obi. And you dropped the ball, man. You dropped the ball. But what I also like about that whole scene is that this really wasn't the battle that we were expecting. And I hope people don't believe that this was it. This was just a precursor to Obi-Wan and Vader facing off. They will meet again. Will it be at the end of the season? Maybe. I hope so. But I'm certain that Vader was just like, what the heck is this? Like, I'm just chopping at this guy. He's barely deflecting. This is not the revenge that I was expecting, right? This isn't the payback that I wanted. And he was just bored. He was just toying with him. And Vader just pretty much goes to town on him, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna light the floor on fire, and you're gonna suffer. You're gonna experience what I experienced. And he force dragged him into that flame, and he was like, remember that? Oh wait, you don't, because I was the one who was burning up the last time. This is how it felt. So that was such great retribution for Vader. Your suffering hasn't even started. And you know, he's asking his little stormtroopers, like, bring him, we're gonna go ahead and torture him and whatever. Like, Vader's gonna have his way with Obi-Wan. And then you see that rebel person, I can't remember her. She was the mother of snakes from Game of Thrones. I really can't remember the actress's name or even the character's name. It was all about Vader. It was all about Vader. But you know, she's able to help Obi-Wan. The mining droid goes and gets him out of there. The flames are all going off, and Vader's just on that other side. And what I love is the cinematography, the way it was shot. You see the flames reflecting off of his helmet, especially off of his lenses. So he has that hatred, and you can see the fire in his eyes, literally and figuratively, which I really love that. And hey, listen, let's be perfectly honest. Could have Vader force choked him again, brought him through the flames? You know, could he have turned off the fire using some force push? Absolutely. I would like to place myself in Vader's boots and think that, hey, this is just a shell of a man. I'd rather he get away, because I am gonna find him again. And he better be prepared, because next time, none of this playing around, he's dead. It's over. And Vader was just watching. He wasn't afraid of the fire. He's just, you know, listen, this was Vader's way of saying, yo, go heal up, train, let those scorch marks remind you of who I am and what I'm gonna do to you if you don't get ready, because this is just round 2. We're gonna hit round 3, and round 3 isn't in A New Hope. There's going to be a round 3 before we get to episode 4. So it was really cool. It was really awesome to see Vader in full wrath mode. Very briefly, you have that little subplot with Reva, the Inquisitor. She's okay as a character. I'm not really a big fan, but I will say from a story perspective, I do have a feeling that, I'm pretty sure it's obvious at this point that she has an agenda. What that agenda is, I don't know. But I want to, again, theorizing and speculating here, I'm pretty sure it has to do with vengeance. She's trying to get revenge, whether it's on Obi-Wan or even Vader himself. This could be a way for her to position herself to get closer to Vader, to be able to take him out for what he did during Order 66, which was take out all the Jedis at the Jedi Temple and wipe out the younglings. If indeed Reva was the little girl at the beginning of episode 1, where we see her in the temple doing her Tai Chi and training with the Force, and she was with her little friends and they were trying to escape, maybe her friends didn't make it out alive. Maybe she's just so angry and wants to get revenge against Vader, or maybe it's revenge against Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan ran, and he was the one who sent out that signal, telling Jedi like, hey, don't go to the Jedi Temple, it's a trap. But there were still other Jedis there fighting for their lives, and there were still younglings. Why would anyone not try to help them? And I get it, Jedi were being wiped out, but from Reva's perspective, Obi-Wan didn't even try to help them, and that was pretty much the point that she was making in episode 1, when she was telling the townsfolk in Tatooine, like, hey, the Jedi are cowards. They're not gonna come and help you, they're not gonna save you. So maybe she experienced that herself. So we have to see. Again, I'm not too big on her character story arc. I'm really hoping that does turn around. I don't like shows or stories where they don't have a purpose for certain characters. I will say, by the end of the season, she will be taken out, she will be killed, and it'll be by Vader. I got my money on that. Vader killing somebody of importance up in this show. It has to happen. So really quick, before I wrap up this video, just want to go back and talk about that scene where Obi-Wan speaks about having a brother. So 2 theories. Theory number 1, which is highly unlikely. Both theories are highly unlikely. But again, I like to go out of left field and really bring in some crazy theories, open up discussions. So I would love to hear what you guys have to say about my theories here, and let me know what your theories are. Theory number 1, what if Obi-Wan actually didn't have a brother and instead he had a sister, right? Maybe that sister that he thought was a brother, that is related to Obi-Wan, is Rey's mother, maybe. Again, just trying to connect the show to the sequel, because this show is connecting a lot to the prequels and to the original trilogy. What is the connection to these sequels? The other theory that I have in regards to Obi-Wan's brother is, what if it's Cal Kestis? How crazy would it be if Obi-Wan's brother was also brought into the Jedi Order? He just didn't know it. And what if it is another Jedi? I mean, why mention he has a brother and not reveal that it is someone of importance, right? And I think it would be really cool and interesting to connect it to another Jedi that's already known, a character that people are aware, whether you played the video games, you've read books, there's been mentions of him, and from my understanding, he will be making an appearance in Obi-Wan. That is just a rumor, don't know. But that would be freaking awesome. Those are my theories. Who do you think is Obi-Wan's brother or sister? Because again, he was a little tyke, so maybe his memory isn't all that good. But that's pretty much all I have for this video. I think there was a lot to cover. There was a lot of excitement. I love talking about Star Wars. I would love to answer any questions that you may have. I would love to hear your theories. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you like this video, hit a thumbs up, share it. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Definitely helps out the channel. Invite others to subscribe as well. Hit the notifications bell to stay up to date with my content. But until next time, that does it for this video. Again, make mine Vader. Until next time, that is a